We all know what this is, don't we? Well, maybe we don't. Can barely fit on the camera. All right, so this is the case for the new computer build that I'm about to do. So this is part 2 of the video. Obviously, the first part was this one, and that was basically just showing all the parts and the technology and the latest computers compared to old computers. And yeah, so this is gonna be part 2. We're gonna put this baby together. So without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, so here's all the parts. So I guess this is probably the center panel, and we've got all the posts and the mounting points for hard drives, I'd say. And then down here we've got the 2 glass panels. So I guess it's going to be a glass panel, then the center panel, then another glass panel. Very simple so far. Just basically putting a small post on one side, the large post on the other. Obviously the glass panels would connect on the front here. On the back, just have to put the stuff on for the peripherals. So it turns out that everything is basically built around the frame of this case. So the next thing it calls for is basically the motherboard installation. So I guess we're gonna go ahead and start putting it together. So let's get into it. So basically now to mount the motherboard, we have these tiny little posts basically that just screw into the holes like so. And then basically the motherboard gets screwed onto those. So we've got the 9 little locator posts in. This one did not want to go in. So now that those are in, we can basically mount the motherboard. Okay, the motherboard's nice and secure. Next we have to install the PCI card slot area. So these are your PCI card slots right here. Okay, so basically this goes here, and that gives something the card to mount to, like the GPU or whatever. So just to illustrate what I was just talking about with the PCI card slots. So obviously card slots there. This is a GPU, this is just a baby one, just a 1050 Ti, 4 gig. And basically we just have to make sure it lines up with the card slot, which is down the bottom there, right there, and then on the edge here. So basically that's it. So it fully lines up. Okay, so next we've got the power supply bracket basically. So this is going to be mounted right here, and then obviously the power supply will be mounted right there. Now that's the back of the motherboard, and basically that's where the CPU would be on the other side. Okay, power supply brackets installed. Now next is to get the power supply in there. So let's do that right now. Now this power supply is a 1000 watt modular. You see how it's basically got all the individual plugs, so all your wiring can be like basically hidden and neatened. The old power supplies usually used to just have one giant cord just coming out one area, and then you had a bunch of leads going to it. But not the new modulars. These things are really good. Okay, power supply is installed, and then basically you've got this strap that basically needs to go, and just retain it. Okay, power supply's in, straps on, all good to go. So there are all the basically every cable that you need to connect the motherboard and hard drives and all that stuff. So next, this is basically just your hard drive mounting plate, and it simply just mounts up like right there. There she's all mounted, ready to go. Now make sure when you mount it that you mount it with the large holes at the top and the small at the bottom, because it obviously slots in and drops down. You're going to know which way is which because your power supply is going to be down the bottom. Really simple. So this is one of the 4 hard drives in the rig. This is the Western Digital 10 terabyte. 10 terabytes! That's bloody crazy. My first hard drive on my computer was 20 gigabytes. Anyway, so she's going to mount up here. Oh, help if I put in frame. So your hard drive just has these tiny little locating screws. So you're basically going to pop 4 of those in. And then once you get those 4 little babies in, it's quite simple to just mount it up on the rack. There's little rubber grommets on there to help you locate it, okay? And basically this rack will take 3 mechanical hard drives, or 3.5-inch hard drives. And so you basically just locate the holes like so. And then it just slots in basically. So next we're gonna mount the little 2.5-inch, it's a solid state 2 terabyte drive. So we're gonna put that up now too. Look at the difference once it's mounted. So solid state drives are just a lot quicker and they're less likely to break down because there's no moving parts. Obviously mechanical drives have a moving part. Alrighty, so it's time to break open the liquid cooling kit and start getting everything mounted up in the case for that. There's a radiator. So this is a CPU water block. So basically this is the part that keeps the CPU cool. So the water circulates through this area. So obviously this is a reservoir and that's the radiator. Now where these holes are, there's no holes that line up with this bracket. So basically I'm gonna have to drill some holes in here to get this bracket to line up and mount onto the case, which is a pain in the ass, but I'll get it done. Radiator's mounted. Obviously make sure you put it on the right way, because if you don't, you're gonna have the outlets at the bottom and you don't want that obviously. So yeah, good to go. Now I've got to go get the drill and modify this to get the reservoir mounted. All right, so drilled some custom holes in the chassis to get the reservoir mounted. There she is. So radiator's on, reservoir's on. Okay, now it's time to mount the on-off switch, and obviously you got your microphone, headphones, and 4 USB 3.0s. So we're probably going to mount that right there. There she is, all mounted up. So basically all these will be wired to the motherboard and to the power supply, and should be good to go. The on-off right here. All right, let's mount our i9-10980XE Extreme. So basically this is our CPU house. So you unhinge this and this, it comes up, this is going to pop up, and you're going to pop this plastic thing off, and you can see where the LGA 1200 pins are. Look at them, it's freaking amazing. All right, let's check out this i9. So a little magnetic box. Oh, look at that thing. God, it's like, can't believe how it is. Look at that box. It's crazy. Anyway, let's get it mounted up. It's one of those hallelujah moments, isn't it? Well, not really, but whatever. There she is. CPU installed. So basically now it's time to install the CPU cooler, which is obviously the water cooling block, and so we're going to put a plate on the back. So I had to pull the rack off for the hard drives, which is stupid. I don't know why they make you put it on first. Anyway, so that's what we're up to now. When you install a CPU cooler, you've got to use an Arctic silver paste. It's basically silver in a paste. And what it does, it just basically disperses the heat through the cooler properly. If you don't use this stuff, you're gonna get hot spots and you can actually damage your CPU. So it's really important to use Arctic silver on the heat exchanger. So just put a nice even amount on. Just not too close to the edges. And then what you can do is you get a little spatula and just spread it around. I'm going to probably put a little more on, but I just didn't want to go overboard at the start. Just want to get it all even so you get even heat dispersion. That's pretty much it. Spread it on. Just cover up all the little spots. So any little spot will cause a hot spot. And there we go. See these little washers? I was supposed to put them between this bolt in here and the nut, and then I tried it and pulled it off just to see how even the spread was on the thermal paste, and it was hardly even on the CPU, so I took the washers out and now it should firmly be on there. See these little washers? I was supposed to put them between this bolt in here and the nut, and then I tried it and pulled it off just to see how even the spread was on the thermal paste, and it was hardly even on the CPU, so I took the washers out and now it should firmly be on there. Alright, so I've got our 3 RGB fans right here, and basically they will get mounted right here on the radiator. So let's do that. 3 fans are mounted, and there's the wiring basically, so I can run it up the side there, straight through there. And there's the little module that basically controls the fans. So yeah. Okay, now that the cooling block is installed, so basically I need to take these out, and we're gonna put in the inserts for basically the piping in there. So that's what we're gonna do real quick now. Inlet outlet installed, outlet on here. I've got the ones on the radiator as well. Okay, so I mentioned the M.2 solid state drives that basically will be mounted under the M.2 armor here. So this one reads at 30 gig and this one's like 2.5 gig or something like that. So I'm about to install both those. This is basically what it looks like in the box. So let's pull it out real quick. It's a little 1 terabyte hard drive. So basically about to pull the armor off, and we'll see where you install it. Okay, so this is the armor lifted. Basically it has a electric plug for the RGBs in there, and that's basically the little hard drives get mounted, one there and one there. So let's get them installed real quick. So basically when you install the M.2 hard drives, you basically put it in for the length, and you'll see that I had to basically put this little nut on the motherboard right here, and then that's where the screw will go into. Okay, so the 2 solid state drives are installed right here and right here. So now we just have to put the armor back on and we're good to go. And these are both RGBs, that's why they have these clear sections. So once I got that installed, the armor wouldn't fit above it. So what I've done is basically double stacked the little mounting points, one here and one here, and then we'll just leave this one open. And there she is, all installed, both solid state drives. Alright, so we're going to install the RAM now. So I've got this DDR4 PCI 4000 16 gig sticks, I think they are. And I've got 8 of them, so I've got 128 gig of RAM. So basically we've got your RAM slot there and there. So let's get that in. There's 128 gigabytes of PCI 4000 RAM, DDR4 too. So next what we're going to do is wire the front panel, okay? So we've got a few USB ports here, and then we've got to wire the power button. This is the audio, and what do we got? Here's the power, and yeah, and the ground and the LED light for the power. So basically we'll wire those into there, audio into there, and they've got USBs here. Okay, you got the audio plugged in, so that's for the front facing microphone and headphones. Got the power right here with the LEDs, and then the first USB is plugged right here, and then the second USB is right there. So basically we're wiring in the power supply right now. So we've got our CPU here, this is the power for the motherboard, and then we've got PCI Express, which is graphics card, and then SATA and peripherals, which is like the hard drives. So obviously once you get the wiring all done, then I've got to just neaten it up a little bit. And this is the wiring from the front panel that we did before. Okay, hard drives are wired in. Got the power supply for the motherboard, CPU, and then the peripherals, which is the hard drives right there. So there's the massive plug for the power of the motherboard. So this goes right there. And CPU right here. So we'll just plug those in right now. CPU power, motherboard power, hard drive, sorry, USB, power switches, audio, and USB. Beautiful. So this motherboard does not have an onboard GPU, which is a graphic processing unit. So basically what I'm going to do is put this little baby 1050 Ti card in. And it doesn't even have external power, so little baby card. It's like 4 gig, I think. There's a little 1050 Ti installed. And now all I have to do is get the plumbing done for the water kit, and then wire up all the fans, and power are on. It should be good to go. So the pipe cutter finally turned up. The thing is awesome. I just cut this little piece right here. And so basically this is going to go right there. And then it's going to run a pipe straight over to here. Alright, so reservoir pumps up here to the cooler and back over here to the radiator, goes through the radiator, circuits back down into the reservoir. So she's all plumbed up. So the cooling system is all plumbed now, and then we've got this deionized water that we are going to put in the system. It goes in this reservoir right here. And then we can put some dye in it. So probably put the green in it. So this is the green dye again, taken. Look at that. It's insane. Kind of the moment of truth here. So put the power on, the board lights up, and hit the button. Oh, one of the fans isn't hooked properly. Got to fix that. Look at that. And we're not getting signal to the screen. So we've got to figure that out too. Alright. Start troubleshooting. Oh, look out. Alright, so it is reacting to the screen now. But I still have to figure this out. I mean, these fans are barely spinning, and this one's not even moving at all. You can see the cool one's flowing though. So at least that's working. Okay. So I troubleshooted the fans. So basically they weren't sequential. And so I've got the LEDs running on both of them now. comes with a little remote. Everything has to be run sequentially, otherwise they will not function. So there's an LED in there too, but I haven't plugged that in yet. I think the lead's back at home. And they're all remote control. You got many different modes. It's like bloody Christmas. You can hear someone clicking in the background over there. I swear it's not a mouse. Well, it is a mouse. Like a mouse thing you use with a hand.
You not be so distracting.
Hey, I'm bloody videoing over here. There we go, look at these modes. Going through them. Oh, look out. Look at that. Amazing. There's the little limb. Got 2 hard drives. You can't talk in the middle of videos. Alright, so she powered up. There's all 128 gig of RAM right there. And the motherboard, and then the processor right there. So it's time to do some tweaking. Yes. Gotta stick this in basically. Okay, just finishing up the build. Now when you install the hard drives, more than not they're probably going to show up like this in storage management, and that's not going to show up as a usable drive. So basically you've just got to go through a few steps and make it recognize it, which is what I'm doing right now. And now that drive's recognizable. So we've got a 10 terabyte, a 2 terabyte. This is solid state, this is a mechanical, and then I've got 2 of the M.2s, which are right there. So that's it. So she's got about 14 terabytes of storage. So this 2 terabyte solid state drive, it wouldn't recognize it. So you actually manually had to go in and basically right click on it and go change and then add. And then it formatted it and gave it a, well, didn't format it. I did a format on it and then it gave it a drive letter. And you can see all the hard drives. So the 2 solid states, which is the M.2s, the mechanical 10 terabyte, and then the last 2 terabyte solid state. So basically after everything's installed, we run a stress test and we benchmark the CPU. You see the benchmark running now, and then you can basically see it's sitting in 3rd position. The other 2, the 24 core, the 32 core, is an 18 core. And this is a result from the single core. It's obviously not made to just run single, but it performed pretty well. I mean, it's the 5th processor on the market for single core, which is not bad for a workhorse. Okay, so running a CPU stress test right now with CPU Z, and then this is basically all the cores and temperatures. They're maxed out at 100%. And you can see the highest temps up here at the 60s, but nearly all of them are under 60 degrees at max load, which is super rare, and it's all because of that.